Hi, everyone, and welcome to our webinar, MPA Finance, First Steps for Marine Managers. This webinar is brought to you by the Nature Conservancy's Reef Resilience Network in partnership with the Blue Nature Alliance and in collaboration with the International Coral Reef Initiative as part of their 4 Coral webinar series. My name is Kristen Mays, and I'm the strategy lead for the Reef Resilience Network. I'm joined today by our partners from the Blue Nature Alliance, Lihla Noori, the Capacity and Learning Lead, and Michael McGreevey, Senior Director of Long-Term Finance for Blue Nature Alliance, and also our guest presenter, Alan Cedras, Chief Executive Officer from the Seychelles Parks and Gardens Authority. During the webinar today, or tonight, this morning, wherever you are, Lihla will provide an overview of the MPA Finance Toolkit, a new resource we just developed in partnership with the Alliance. It's to help marine managers understand marine protected area finance basics, the variety of finance mechanisms available, and a process to exploring financing options for your own sites. To help bring these concepts to life, Alan will provide an example of MPA financing in practice. He will share the history of Seychelles Parks and Gardens Authority's financing journey and provide recommendations to marine managers exploring MPA financing options. The webinar will last for an hour, and the presentation will be followed by an open question and answer discussion session. Michael is going to be joining us for the discussion session to provide additional insight and expertise on the topic of conservation finance. So really glad you're here, Michael. Just to note that the presentation is going to be recorded. We will email you the recording after the webinar. It'll also be available on our website and YouTube channel, so you'll be able to rewatch it and share with your colleagues. Before we get started, let's go over just a couple Zoom housekeeping, a review of some of the functions. There's a toolbar at the bottom of your screen. On the left of that toolbar, you'll see the audio settings button. You can click that little tiny up arrow and select for the different output options for audio, such as speaker, headphones, other Bluetooth devices. If you're experiencing any technical difficulties during the webinar, please use the chat feature and send a private message to our Zoom support, Hannah Stroud. She can assist you. If you have any questions that come up for you during the webinar, of course, you can jot them down. You can also send them to us now at any time using the Q&A feature. And then during the Q&A session after the presentations, you're able to use the raise the hand feature, and we can unmute you and you can ask your question aloud yourself. Here is kind of already shared this a little bit, but here's our agenda for the webinar. We're doing our welcome now. I'll share a little bit about the Reef Resilience Network. Lihla will give us an overview of the new toolkit, resources that will be hopefully useful to you. We will have a 20-minute case study from Alan on Seychelles Parks and Gardens Authority, and then a good chunk of time for our discussion question and answer session. Before we dive into MPA Finance, I'm going to share briefly about the Reef Resilience Network, just really briefly who we are and what resources we have to offer that may be of interest to you or your colleagues beyond MPA Finance. So just briefly, for about 2 decades now, the Nature Conservancy's Reef Resilience Network, we've helped marine managers and practitioners globally more effectively manage, protect, and restore critical marine habitats. We have amazing help from more than 400 experts, and together we synthesize and share the latest science and management strategies to keep managers informed and inspired. We connect managers globally with your peers and experts to share resources and solutions for improved management. And when we can, we provide training, seed funding, and mentorship to launch monitoring, education, conservation-related projects. Currently, we have about 5,000 active members in the network, but have trained almost 50,000 people over the last 20 years from more than 85% of coral reef locations, as you can see from this map here. And because we work so broadly and globally, we really rely on our online hub, reefresilience.org, to house our resources and be a platform for sharing. And we're really proud that almost 1 million people visit and use those online resources. Just to give you a quick taste of what those resources are, based on this is just a look at our website, but based on the needs of managers in our network, we offer and feature 9 online courses currently on resilience-based management. If you wouldn't mind clicking to the next, we'll go through them, but you can get a glimpse. 9 online courses, featuring resilience-based management, wastewater pollution. We just launched a new sustainable livelihoods course. These are self-paced. We also offer mentored versions. Next, you'll see that science and strategy toolkit. So here we feature the latest science and strategies and online toolkits currently across 18 topics that are critical to effective management. We regularly update a large set of case studies from around the world that demonstrate successfully applied management strategies. Our latest case study is on financing protected areas in Palau through user fees, so particular interest to this group. We also survey new publications, so we keep track of the latest science and create summaries of relevant journal articles for our open access library. We host interactive webinars. Obviously, you know that, you're here today. And we provide mentorship and networking opportunities. And for all of these resources, they can easily be searched using keywords as you're exploring the website. So just wanted to give you a taste of the other resources in addition to the MPA Finance Toolkit that we will dive into in just a minute. But enough about us. We want to hear from you. We'd love to get a sense of who's joining us today. If you can share what is the focus region of your work, and please feel free to check all that apply, and we will go ahead and give you a moment to pull in here. Okay, wow, we have a tie. Okay, it looks like Western. We can go ahead and share that poll with everyone, please, Hannah. But it looks like we have, a tie between Coral Triangle and Western Indian Ocean. Pacific is just behind. I guess it's not very surprising given the time zone for the webinar. It's kind of what we'd expect, but it's really fun to see those other regions represented. So thank you to those who are watching at very tough hours. Great, thanks. And let's see. Okay, I think you were able to see that one. We'll go ahead and move to the next poll question. We want to hear from you one more time. So now we'd love to just get a sense of your familiarity with the topic. So we want to know, how familiar are you with MPA Finance? Not at all. Do you have some familiarity? Are you very familiar? Okay, and it's looking like not at all, and some familiarity or going neck and neck, but some familiarity won out. But this is perfect. This is the audience we were envisioning. This is the audience that we built this online toolkit for, that Lihla will share about next. So really excited to have you here so we can learn together and learn from you too during the discussion session. So we can go ahead and make sure that poll was shared. Wonderful. Okay, well, thank you guys for sharing a little bit. We want to go ahead and share about, the finance toolkit now. So Lihla, I'd love to turn it over to you to share about the new MPA Finance Toolkit. Welcome.
Thank you so much, Kristen, and greetings to everyone out there. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. My name is Lihla Noori. I support the Blue Nature Alliance, a global partnership that aims to catalyze ocean conservation. And my work focuses on capacity and learning for MPA sites, but also the overall field of ocean conservation at scale. And time again, sustainable financing is the most pressing need shared by the 40 sites and over 100 MPAs that we work with. In collaboration with the Alliance Conservation Finance team, Chris Stone and Mike McGreevey, who's here today, This MPA Finance Toolkit was inspired by the West Indian Ocean MPA Finance Workshop held in September 2023, which was co-hosted with the West Indian Ocean Marine Science Association. During this week, we designed the content, showcased regional examples, and piloted the Alliance methodology for identifying and prioritizing financing mechanisms. Not only is this toolkit a reflection of the knowledge exchange between the 30 participants across 11 countries present, potentially some on the line today, but it includes other resources and examples provided by additional global finance experts. Thanks to the Reef Resilience Network's global reach, this opportunity has allowed us to extend the learning experience together in Kenya while showcasing several of Alliance's local and regional partners. We're so excited to share this compilation of carefully selected resources featuring dozens of case videos, examples, and case studies. You can also find links to other resources and our 3-step process. So all that with the hope that you'd be able to easily access them and feel confident about what steps you can take to better fund your MPAs in the long term. But before we take a closer look at the toolkit itself, let's talk about MPA finance for a minute. Marine protected areas are important tools for supporting the conservation and recovery of marine ecosystems. They also provide critical co-benefits to nearby communities by improving fisheries management, enhancing tourism, and supporting resilient coastal communities. But despite their importance and value, it can be difficult to secure funding to support the long-term success and ongoing needs of MPAs, as many of you have experienced. But according to one study shown here, staff capacity and budget capacity are actually the 2 single most important management factors of protected area success. And we all know that those 2 issues are actually intertwined because you can't have adequate staff if you don't have the funding that you need to support them. 2/3 of marine protected areas globally report having insufficient budget to manage their areas, and very few protected areas have a financial plan. MPA Finance specifically is all about funding marine protected areas. It's about the strategies that generate, manage, and deploy financial resources and align those incentives to achieve the major conservation outcomes we are all after. So let's dive into the toolkit for a minute. There's actually 4 pages of the toolkit, 4 web pages. And the first page of the toolkit provides an overview of MPA Finance, what it is, what it currently looks like, what are the common funding challenges, what are the key funding characteristics for MPA managers to consider. Some characteristics you could consider when it comes to funding MPAs are reliability. How consistent would the funding from this mechanism be, and how likely is it to change over time? Another characteristic could be feasibility. How difficult is it to raise the funding from that mechanism? What kind of capacity would you need? And temporality. How long does it take to establish the mechanism? And how long would it take for those financial returns to start flowing down to the MPA? And lastly, flexibility. Are those funds you're receiving from the financial mechanism restricted, or can you use it as you see fit? The next web page talks about an overview. Oh, can we move slides, please? Thank you. The toolkit provides an overview of 4 primary types of finance mechanisms or instruments that are shown here in this little graphic. You might recognize grant-based. Many of you have a lot of experience in grant-based funding. The other financial mechanism example is compensation-based. Another one is investment-based. And lastly, ecosystem value-based. For each category on this toolkit, you'll find a list of the instruments with definitions, examples of what they are, enabling conditions, and additional considerations for each one. And this web page really serves as a menu for you. It's a menu of options that would help you understand what instruments are out there and which ones could work for your MPA and for your local context. The third page we created is called Cross-Cutting Finance Mechanisms. This separate page helps you see the interconnection and apply multiple elements. Where do those multiple elements from the 4 primary instrument categories find themselves? These cross-cutting mechanisms also act as fund vehicles that receive and distribute funds to MPAs and other conservation projects. Some of them are called conservation trust funds. You might have heard of nature bonds or even project finance for permanence, all examples of cross-cutting mechanisms. And the final page here features a 3-step process for marine managers and practitioners to identify, prioritize, and design implementation plans or roadmaps for financial instruments best suited for a specific MPA, a protected area network, or even an OECM, other effective area-based conservation measure. The first step is collecting country data to assess the financial instrument. Then you would rank and prioritize those instruments against criteria and feasibility. And lastly, we'd create an implementation roadmap for those prioritized instruments. This process has been developed and piloted by the Blue Nature Alliance, and we're including here, as you can see on the bottom right of the screen, a case study of the Alliance's work with MPA managers in Chile to help illustrate this process and how you can apply it in your context. It's important to note, though, that there are so many, often similar approaches and resources available to marine managers that are looking to identify and prioritize funding streams for their protected areas. Please check the resource links at the bottom of the page for additional resources that can guide you as you implement your own planning. And you may notice that actually in most cases, MPA managers might need technical assistance from an outside agency or consultancy in order to effectively design your MPA financing plan. Well, thank you so much for listening to this quick overview of the toolkit. Please check it out for yourself. We'd love to hear your feedback and for how we can improve it over time. Over to you, Kristen.
Thanks, Lila. Thanks for that very efficient, great overview of the toolkit. Before we go, you can see the link. We just put the link in the chat. And before we move over to Alan, we're gonna hear from you one more time. We'd love to get a sense of the sources of funding you're currently using to support your MPA. So if you could share that with us: government funding, philanthropic, endowment trust, user fees, other, none yet. Like watching a horse race, at least on our back end. User fees started strong, and now government funding is pulling out in the lead. Okay, we'll give you just one more minute, and we'll go ahead and put that up for everyone to see. Great. So, yep, government funding out in front in the lead. It looks like, you know, other is a really large category here at 24%, user fees at 20%, tying with philanthropic support, and then a lot of room for growth with the none yet. So we'd really love to get a sense too of, during the Q&A, hearing from you guys and your experience, but especially the folks who put the other for the financing mechanisms. It'd be great to hear from you and have you share. So we will go ahead and turn it over to you now, Alan. Take us with you to the Seychelles and share the journey of Seychelles Parks and Gardens Authority, please. Over to you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Alain Cedras. I'm the Chief Executive Officer of Seychelles Parks and Garden Authority. And today in my presentation, I'm going to give an overview, small brief about our organization, a little bit about our strategic objectives, the different aspect of financing mechanism that we have, tips for managers, and also how tech and tools can be used, and a little advice, and overall is the Seychelles experience, which I'm going to share today. So next. So just to give you an overview that in terms of my experience, I am not a career finance person. However, I have a diverse background, and this has enabled me to ensure that we have a sustainable financing, and I have groomed and trained and hired competent finance person to help our organization make it to the level we are today. So next. Just to give you an overview, my organization, as all organization, it is well structured. It is a government entity, but with certain financial autonomy. So we have our vision, mission, mandate, and commitment. So I have a workforce of 163 staff. So all supporting doing conservation and of course, sustainable financing. Next. Just to give a little bit of our strategic objectives in terms of how we move forward. So we have a strategic plan and we focus definitely on our conservation effort. And also we have a priority for our financial autonomy and be resourceful in terms of all our activities and engagement. And we ensure that we have a financial soundness because we do not depend on a budget from the government. Next. So just to give you a few ideas, we are Seychelles is a small island in the Western Indian Ocean, and we are a group of the small islands are spread, and we have out of the granitics most of our protected areas. Terrestrial, marine, and gardens, and this is where we mostly generate our finances. Next. And through this, just to give an overview of our major financing mechanism, recently we have been structured as a state-owned enterprise, meaning a public enterprise, which we are given the authority to do commercial activities. This was very recent because we have quite advanced in our ecotourism activities, and the government feel that we are an organization that can be sustained on our own. So that is why we have been created like that, but still remain government entity. And of course, for us to start with, we were fully funded by the government since the creation of MPAs in the early 1970s. So we have the first one in 1973 in Seychelles. So we've been fully supported by government through a grant, so government grant. And then as we go along, we have increased our activities and enter into ecotourism, introducing user fees in the late 80s to ensure that we become sustainable. And the money that we get really goes back to the management of the MPAs, protected areas, and also to all our conservation effort. Of course, as we move forward, getting a little bit more advanced, working, diversing our financing mechanism. So we went into international funding where we tapped into UNDP GF project and other related international projects. That was in the 90s to ensure that we also getting other sources to help the conservation effort that we have been sustaining since 1973. But of course, again, we move diversifying our activities. We move into corporate sponsorship where we engage into with partnering with different organizations to ensure that we became sustainable. And recently we have also, as we're moving along, getting the fund, collecting, we reinvest the money that we are collecting so that we can get more money like infrastructures, renting, cafeterias, bars. So these are the services that we engage in. And recently, for the debt swap, there was a mechanism that helped us to get source of finance. It's called SPGA, Seychelles Conservation and Climate Adaptation Trust Fund. And this we mainly get our sources of finance for project, different conservation related to marine. This helps us also to bridge the gap between what we are investing and what we are doing in terms of conservation. And it is a really great help for our organization. Next. So just to give you a little bit of overviews of our revenue stream. So we have the user fees applicable for the park. So we have parks, marine parks, nature trails, gardens, and we also sell forest produce from local product. And we also have rental services and other arrangements we have with hotel. So this has enabled us getting a little bit more of what we need in terms of financing. Next. Of course, we cannot move forward if we don't get structured. And recently, we have in 2023, we have developed a business plan. This will enable us focalize on what we really have and plan our financing better. So we have a few strategies that we adopted. For example, going with one voice, one direction, ensure that we have good data that will help us to make wise decision and sound decision, and ensure that we have a very good effective structure and leverage existing resources that we have, and produce our all conservation plan to ensure that it is implemented and tracked. It is very important that we engage and also have a way to partner with the private sector. This is very key. So our business plan gives us an overarching way forward, how we're going to engage and deal with the different stakeholders and try to get the maximum. And through this implementation of the business plan, enable us to become more financially sound and ensure that we can sustain ourselves in the future. Next. So just to give a few tips for managers, so any managers out there who are willing or who have started, I've seen from the polls that we are targeting the right audience with people that doesn't have the good idea. So one thing is very important, that we ensure that we diversify our activities. Relying on one source is very risky. So it is essential that managers to diversify the funding to ensure financial stability. This will include a combination of government grant. We know, I've seen from the poll that you have just done, is that a lot are getting from government grants. It is very important because this is the force. But those that are not directly from the government, they can also innovate into different sources like crowdfunding, user fees, and also private donation, which of course some of you are doing. But those who do not have any abilities, these are sort of the tips that we can provide you, and diversifying your finance sources and engage into the ecotourism that you are doing, and also project from the different partners. There's a lot of projects out there. These are important to help you sustain, maintain, and also develop a very good source of funding sources. Next. Also another tip, try to develop an innovative mechanism. If you rely on one, that will be difficult. But this traditional funding sources for managers should be explored to innovative mechanism to support MPAs. If you have a very good conservation strategies, this is very important that you have this public-private partnership endowment fund. And also investing. As you go along, if you have user fees, you need to put aside a little bit of money so that you can reinvest those money and make money out of those investment, out of those money that you have. So these are very good tips for managers. If you don't know how to proceed, this is an important development, how to be innovative, creative within your own sphere of developing a sustainable financing mechanism for your protected area. Next. Of course, it is crucial to involve stakeholders. You cannot go ahead. These are the tips for managers. If you want to consider how to do and how to maintain a proper user fees, it is important that you engage with local communities, fisher groups, tourism operators, and other relevant partners to gather input, address their concerns about the user fees. Collaborative approach can help that provide you with a very good structure, transparent and widely accepted. This is very important. But also you need to have a clear communication when introducing a user fee for an MPA. Clearly explain the rationale behind how to use the fee, how to implement it, and how it will be effective, so that it will bring something and it will be part and parcel for the community to start engaging themselves. Establish a robust monitoring and evaluation to ensure that you have a good framework to assess effectiveness, to ensure that you track your revenue and ensure that you have a very good outcome for your MPA. But of course, regularly review and adjust the fund structure will make you to align with what you are doing. And also conduct simple surveys beforehand or during, so that you can understand the willingness to pay from your stakeholders, how much they're willing to pay for your services. Because conservation costs money, guys, and it is important that they have value for money and how much they're going to pay. So these are very good tips to keep in mind to ensure that you understand how things are going. Next. And of course, if there's important to have good collaboration, because good collaboration will help bring significant financial benefits for your MPAs. For example, if you are part of a recognized regional and international forum, this will get you expand your network. This will bring significant benefit if you want to set up, because you can get help, you can get assistance. Be a proactive members in gross body like SADC, Southern African Development Community, Western Indian Ocean Marine Science Association, Western Indian Ocean Protected Area Network, and so on. So these are very good platforms to advocate, but at the same time, tap into your local context also. Banking, insurance companies, they all come here and they support. They have certain admiration for nature conservation, and also part of their responsibilities, corporate responsibilities. This you can tap. This will help bring a little bit, and these are significant collaboration and affiliation that will enhance your MPA finance and can benefit you in a very direct way. Next. So joining a local regional network, which is very important. Seychelles is part of the YOMPAN. So it is very important. What do we get from the YOMPAN? We get a lot of capacity building that is linked to support the MPA as a whole, but at the same time, give us strategies how to continue implementing our financial sustainability. There's different ways that you can bring. So YOMPAN is one of the regional network in Western Indian Ocean that can help those that are in this region, but also in other regions. Try to see if you have a network, try to join it and make it that you will be able to get the benefit to support technically your MPA, but at the same time, get the training to support the financial mechanism. Next. But it's also good to have the tools. You cannot, these days, we are in a digital world. The financial support require very technologies, but that's it at the same time tools. So if you have a developed MPAs, like I've noticed that most of you doesn't have, but it's good to keep in mind in future planning for your financial sustainability of your protected area. Try to use tech. So try not to use cash to reduce a little bit of other negativity that goes with it. Implement a system online that will help you, and use other tools and software that will help you manage and also measure your effectiveness. This will help you how to engage more in financial benefit, but also at the same time, it supports other aspects of your MPAs, which make you be an efficient and effective MPA. Next. So these are some of the benefits and advantages that you can get for MPA. So some advantages of digitizing MPA include improve your audit trail, increase your revenue, accountability by staff. If you have remote areas, you are able to handle it. These are some of the benefits if you start putting your system into digital aspect. But also there's good benefit in terms of sustainable. You don't depend on a budget from the government, and you can diverse and most reactive in your issues that are arising every day. Be flexible, be able to invest and use other methods. So there are benefits a lot in terms of using tools and support tech so that you can enable you to enhance your MPAs. Next. And finally, in terms of our MPA system, it is important that we put into context that our system of MPAs needs to have something useful. One is the value for money. It's important that if we're having user fees, visitors are really satisfied with what they are experiencing, they are satisfied with the services that we are offering. But at the same time, we need also to look at the legal framework to ensure that we have enough legal framework in place and harmonize all the different legal frameworks so that they can enhance the quality and the management of your MPAs. Of course, capacity building is the key. If you don't have the competence, you don't have the capacity building, you will be lagging behind. It is important that if you have you want to develop a proper MPA finance, build capacity, ensure that they have the competence, ensure that you harmonize the different section units that you have in your MPAs. But no, the last part is ensure that you have a backup plan. Just remember, recently, or the last few years, we had COVID, how it disrupted the whole system globally. So have a plan. If it's something happen, what will you do at local level? What will you do at national level? What will you do at international level? This will help you develop an efficient and robust system to ensure that your mechanism is really, really in the good way. And Seychelles, as an organization for Seychelles Parks and Garden Authority, we have harmonized all of this, and we still fine-tuning, and there's a lot of things that we also require to do. But for those out there, managers, practitioners, or other specialists, researchers, there's a lot of things that you can contribute towards your MPA financing system. Try to put everything together. So I will conclude on that note, and over to you, Kristen.
Thank you so much, Alan, for that really wonderful, rich presentation. I'm sure there's a lot of questions. I'd love to move into the question and answer session so that you guys can speak directly to Alan and Michael. Just a couple quick housekeeping reminders is that please feel free to type your question into the question and answer box, and I will go ahead and read those questions aloud for Alan or Michael, or feel free to raise your hand and we can go ahead and unmute you and you can ask your question yourself. Technical difficulties, please still message Hannah directly. So just as a reminder, we are being joined by Michael McGreevey also, so we can direct some questions to Michael. He's the Senior Director of Long-Term Finance for Blue Nature Alliance, in addition to Alan. So welcome, Michael. Nice to see your face. And we can go ahead and switch maybe so we can see our faces more. So I will pull up the Q&A box, send some questions, feel free to raise your hand. And Hannah, if you can help me keep an eye on if hands are raised. Looks like we have a hand right away. We'll go ahead then, and I have some other questions that have come in, but Fahid, it looks like you were the fastest. So we'll go ahead and unmute you and please ask your question aloud. Welcome.
Thank you very much. A very, very great presentation from Seychelles, Alain, and good to meet Michael. I've engaged with Michael before, and I think this question is geared towards him. My question is, you've got a lot of MPAs that already have visibility. They already are very much recognized and have the numbers to be able to support all sorts of various interventions for financing and products and services. But then you've got these paper parks, you've got up and coming MPAs that don't have the marketing, don't have, a place on the map. So before even getting to all of the tools and services and different instruments and mechanisms that Alain has just talked about, how do we get these paper parks and these various unknown MPAs on the map first in order for them to be able to generate sustainable revenues using the different components and tools that were just discussed?
Yeah, thank you, Fahd, for the question. Nice to hear your voice again. And thank you, Kristen and Alan. I think it's a really good point. Clearly, the issue of paper parks and I guess we would say paper marine parks are still an issue, and it's going to be a growing issue as we look forward to 30 by 30 commitments and the global biodiversity framework. I think all we can do in that space is to continue to build capacity to put conservation finance on the agenda, and to continue to draw attention to this issue. When we held that workshop that I believe Lihla mentioned in the beginning of this webinar, when we held that workshop in Kenya, many of the attendees had very little familiarity with conservation finance. And so I think that's the starting point, building capacity, building familiarity. So at a minimum, practitioners have the basic understanding of the tools that are out there so that they can mix and match the ones that are the right fit for their context. But the other thing I would point out here is that with the 30 by 30 commitments, there's new attention on scale, on the issue of conservation finance at scale. And so we know that if we're going to get to a 30 by 30 world in the marine space, that means an additional, I believe, about $9 to $12 billion per year of conservation finance that would be essentially needed to protect and manage those areas. So trying to get there site by site, I think, is striking more and more people as unrealistic. If we try to come up with a bespoke conservation finance solution for this single MPA and then a slightly different one for another MPA, we're probably not going to meet our 30 by 30 ambitions. We're going to discourage countries from fulfilling those ambitions because they're not going to see the financing path. And it's just going to take too much time to get there. So there is a new focus on system-wide, nationwide, and also region-wide approaches to conservation finance. And you may have heard about this new Marine 30 by 30 finance initiative that is being led by the Minderoo Foundation and also the Blue Nature Alliance. There's been some initial principles released on that topic. There's going to be a practitioner's guide released on that shortly. And there is a hope to pilot that approach in several countries in the near future. That would take a system-wide approach to conservation finance, meaning that rather than looking at individual sites, we would be looking at the entirety of the blue economy, of ocean governance and conservation finance, all taken as a piece, all taken as a holistic view to address all those things simultaneously. So there's a lot more to learn about that, and I think if any of you are attending the CBD COP in Colombia, you might have a chance to learn more about that, but there will be more details released on that in the future. But it's certainly an ongoing issue. It's an ongoing question, and thank you for raising that, Fudd.
Yes, excellent. And I'm putting, oh, we're going to go ahead. Yeah, we just shared the guide. And sorry, I'm also just going to put in a link so you can hear directly some more, because Fahid is featured in one of the videos in the toolkit. So the link is there, and you can learn a little bit more about the mechanism he is an expert on, and a little bit more about his work as well. So thank you so much. This question, we'll do this one, but I run a community of scuba divers in the Coral Triangle. Besides underwater cleanup, what type of work can we contribute to MPAs as part of capacity building? Let's see, does anyone want to take that one? Shall I? Well, no, Michael, do you want to? It's a little bit outside of your scope of finance.
No, I mean, I think it's a great question, and I guess one of the things I would say on bringing it back to the topic of conservation finance is what we see over and over again is that individual practitioners can learn about the topic of conservation finance, but what you can't really recreate or what you can't create artificially is the passion that people have for a place, for a particular MPA, for a particular ecosystem that they want to protect and support into the future. And so I think if you are seeing a passionate community of people who are interested in an area, who have a stake in that area and want to continue and protect it, you're probably going to need to look at conservation finance solutions. And those are learnable skills. The toolkit that the Reef Resilience Network is putting out today is a very good starting point. It's not the end of the conversation. It doesn't cover every last topic that you might want to learn about, but it is a very good introduction to the overall menu of options that are out there. So I would encourage you to check out the toolkit, see if it helps you to think about new ways of supporting the area that you're passionate about and your community. But I think the champions on the ground and on the water who love a place and bring that kind of pride and passion to their work are the exact partners that we need leading on conservation finance, and we've seen that mix be successful.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Thanks. Yeah, please, Alan.
Yes, just let me add to what Michael has said. Yes, the toolkit is a very good start, but also try to be innovative. There's a lot of innovation that can come from several different regions, and this will help us to consolidate, because if you start something new or good, share it with now on the network, and also to ensure that everybody try to see and can help each other in terms of enhancing and be part of the MPA Finance or any other sort of mechanism that it is developed within the region. So it is very important that we become a little bit of global family and share your experience, and maybe we can add and help others to get more into the practice, because the innovation comes from new people on the ground, and it is important that we share so that we can have more help in terms of strategic guidance.
Absolutely.
If I might add as well, in terms of capacity building, the scuba divers and yourself, you're so lucky to be with the resource every single day. And so much of sustainable finance and management work in MPAs involves communication and getting people to value MPAs altogether. And to do that, they need to see, touch, and feel the reef that you get to touch every day. And so anytime you can contribute videos, footage, testimonials, any kind of support to managers who might not be able to get out there every day like you do, and being able to share how important the reef is to the community, I think that's an incredible resource that you could provide for MPAs and MPA managers in terms of capacity building for them and the politicians who make some of the decisions. Take them diving with you. Thank you.
Absolutely. A couple questions have come up about, Alan, you had the tip of diversified finance portfolio. And so just wondering if you can share any challenges you've encountered along the way in building that diversified portfolio, because we know we need to do it, but it's hard to do. And just wondering if you can share some, reflect on any challenges.
Yes, definitely. There will be challenges when you start implementing sustainable financing mechanism. But it's good now because there are countries or there are organizations that has already started it. It can be as a stepping stone for whoever that would like to implement or would like to initiate, or they already have one and they need additional help. The thing is that like I said, there's a lot of ways. Joining a network where you can get the supportive that you require, but also ensure that you plan your activities wisely and have a list of pros and cons. If you do this, what might happen? Or if this will happen, what can you do to rectify? There are things that will be solely on one side of the implementer because their region or their area is different from others, but there are common modalities. For example, if you want to implement, there might be some operators that are not willing to pay because they want to have a fair share of this, but you need to engage with them, communicate. Communication is very important to ensure that you can get to the level, and then sharing the benefit. It depends on area you are. If you are a very community-based, sharing the benefit will be wise. But if you are an area which is very isolated, where a lot of things depends on one of your organization or your business, this is another model. So try to ensure to reach different models that we have. And of course, the toolkit is one of the things that we use, but at the same time, reach out to the more experienced partners that have been implementing. There are a lot to say about the challenges, but the challenges are sometimes site-specific, or sometimes it is common between regions, or sometimes it is common within only a region. So it is up to open. Now on this platform, you are getting Seychelles to be a partner to help. okay? You have the contacts. This will be shared by the organizers, but try to engage, try to reach out. This can be offered, because if I want to help you, I need to understand your context, because the context is very important, so that you get the right advice, the right decision to be made, and this will help a lot. But in general, yes, there will be many challenges, and the challenges can be easily overcome by communication, by partnering, and also by reaching out to the people who are more experienced, or who has started the trade, or who has are more advanced. That's my take on this one.
Thank you, Alan. Anything to add to that, Michael or Lila?
Just from my side, bringing it back to the toolkit again, I think there is real value in the approach in the toolkit, because you didn't get to see too much detail in that brief overview, but I would encourage everyone to take a look. But one of the exercises in that approach is to identify the mechanisms that are most feasible for your context, and that would seem to have the most, that would generate the most revenue. You may well find that there's 3 or 4 or 5 mechanisms that kind of meet that criteria, or that are in that sweet spot. And that would give you at least a sense of how you want to diversify. There's 1 or 2 that you might think are the first order of business, but there are a few others that you could move forward on the back burner. But it is a challenging issue, the diversification, just because we all have such limited capacity and bandwidth. And so if you're only starting your journey on conservation finance, it is going to be a challenge to find the capacity to move several different mechanisms or several different ideas forward at the same time.
Great, thank you. Great practical advice. And that is, just as Lila said, the last webpage in the toolkit is the planning process that Michael was just outlining, in addition to some tips. Okay, thanks for the great presentations. I was wondering if you can share some best practices for how to identify the annual financial needs of an MPA. And I know this came up a lot when we were developing the toolkit, is just kind of like the budgeting 101 for MPAs. And I'm wondering, Michael, Alan, if you have any advice for someone looking for best practices on how to identify annual financial needs of an MPA.
Alan, I would be eager to hear your perspective on that, but it can be a challenging exercise. We've worked with some MPAs where the budget is basically spread across 5 or 6 different government ministries. They're not all talking to each other, and piecing that together and trying to figure out what the total costs needed to manage and protect an area can be a real challenge. There are consultants who specialize in that. There's some, conservation literature on that topic, and the Blue Nature Alliance is actually in the very early stages of doing some, trying to develop some additional toolkits on this subject. So I think there will be more tools coming out in the near future, but I would encourage you to look into the conservation literature. Maybe we could include some links after the webinar on that topic.
Okay. Just let me add to what Michael has said. I will put it in a practical way, because it's better, and we are implementing a proper sustainable financing for Seychelles Parks and Garden Authority. The first thing is that you ensure that if you have you want to plan to see the budget, and you need to see what is your capacity building and how much it will be goes towards the salary, because everybody that comes to work, they will need a salary at the end of the month or at the end of the week. So it's very important to quantify that. And also, what is your operation in terms of infrastructures? How you are going to use your infrastructures efficiently so that you can use it to enhance. There's utility bills, all those operations, there's telephone, there's vessels that you need. So it's very important that you take into consideration into that planning. But also that will be your recurrent costing. But also you need to ensure what you in case of emergency, what in case that you have something that happens to your boat, to your cars, or whoever use airplanes for monitoring. So it's very important that you quantify all of this section and see what you have and what it will cost you, and then put a price to it, and then go to government, because you will need to have a figure, a total figure on what will cost you annually to maintain your staff, to pay your salary, to maintain your station, to go out monitoring, for your vehicles, utilities, and also research need if you are engaging into research. So there's a wide variety, but you put your priority list first. If you want to enhance certain aspect, do it a planning. Of course, development of a management plan is very important for your site. You can use your management plan as a guidance to provide your budget overview, because you will need to attain certain objectives. But at the same time, if you are an individual site, you need to do what to do. But you have multiple sites, you need to have a strategic ways how to incorporate, harmonize those different multiple sites together. So there's many different ways to do that. But if it is a site specific, you need to know what you have planned, and this you can put the money that is required for the implementation of that site or of that plan.
Thanks for those first-hand tips, Alan. Appreciate it. There are a few questions, and I'm just going to try and synthesize here because we're coming to the top of our hour. But there are a few questions just around like role of community or community involvement and traditional knowledge. So we'll see if we can get to at least two of these. But are there any mechanisms for sending revenue back to communities from MPAs? Anyone want to take a crack at?
Well, I'll just mention a very interesting model that we've worked on recently with the country of Niue. Some partners in Niue came to the Blue Nature Alliance a couple of years ago with an idea that they called ocean conservation commitments. And the idea there was to essentially identify how much it would cost to manage their new protected area called Moana Mahu Marine Protected Area, which covers about 40% of their EEZ. How much would it cost to manage that area for 20 years? And then divide that up by the square kilometers, 127,000 square kilometers, and kind of put that out into the marketplace and see if they could get individuals and corporations and governments and foundations to all contribute to helping Niue to support their own ocean commitments. Part of that approach is not just about the marine side of things, but it's also about the holistic approach to ocean conservation in Niue. And it's a recognition that the ocean is really at the foundation of Niuean society. So that approach is essentially generating resources, not just for marine conservation, but also for children's education on environmental topics and traditional practices and customs related to ocean management. So it's a very kind of holistic approach. It doesn't just stop with, control and surveillance. It goes beyond that to encompass the entirety of what a sustainable Niuean society would look like. So I think it's a really interesting model and very applicable probably to a lot of other IPLC contexts. So I would encourage you to check out their website at nueoceanwide.com. There's been some press on that as well, and we can send links around on that topic if that would be of interest.
We just did. So there's a link in the chat. And yeah, Michael, I think that's just a fabulous example, because one of the other questions was about, are there any financial approaches that ensure traditional values and worldviews can be integrated? And so it sounds like that is a good example of how that could be done. We'll go ahead. Maybe we could sneak in. Well, I saw a hand raised, but maybe it went down. We might have to stop there for questions, unless there's one more person that wants to ask a question live. I know that a few more have come in, but I don't want to end feeling rushed. We'll go ahead and pause there. The links that we've shared, we will include in the recording that we will email out to every webinar participant. So you'll go ahead and get a recording of this. You'll get links to all the resources that we mentioned sent to you. Huge thank you to our guest speakers, guest discussion panelists. Really appreciate your time, your insights, your expertise. Thank you to everyone who joined us today. Really excited to see the geographic spread and the spread in terms of the expertise that you're bringing to this topic. So thank you, and thanks for sharing. Just quickly, to best way to stay engaged and in touch is to sign up to be a Reef Resilience Network member. You'll get access to our updates and resources as they're produced. So you can see here member benefits, access to latest science and strategies, build skills through our online trainings, learn from experts and peers. And it goes the other way too. This is an opportunity for you to share out your experience, your science, your lessons learned through our case studies, through our article summaries, through contributions to Toolkit. So it truly is a network or community of practice meant to be a two-way exchange. Next slide, please. So you can sign up to be a member. You can go to reefresilience.org and hit the join the network button. If you have any questions about today's presentation or about the network, please email us at resilience@tnc.org. There are some other ways to stay in touch there. And yep, just a reminder, you're going to get a prompt to do a webinar survey as soon as the webinar closes. We'd love to hear from you, gauge your interest on this topic. If there's anything specific you'd like us to dig into further, and if so, how, just share, and how we could always improve our webinars to meet your needs and the needs of other marine managers. So thank you to everyone. Any final words as we say goodbye? Any of our panelists?
Thank you so much for joining.
Yeah, thank you. It's exciting to see everyone. So thank you for joining. Have a wonderful day or a good evening, depending upon where you are in the world. So thank you.